Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It's a big day. It is the end of year 3 of a 3-year grant, and it is the glory day to hear the story of the homes that participated in changing culture, committing to at least 3 practices. And you will soon hear that, just like the last couple of years, most teams end up doing more than 3, which hopefully shows you it's doable. And we're going to start with Amie Holt because they joined halfway through year 2. And so they've been doing it the longest, and their video or their presentation, please know it'll be longer than anyone's. But I really wanted y'all to hear this, and I kind of wanted to go in an order. And so Polaris, you've been in it the next longest. We'll have you go next, and then Bighorn, and then Platte County. And I'll give it to you guys to take away. Carrie Bowler and Katrina, I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Thomas.
Yes, thank you both.
And Kara Code is with us too.
Oh, good. Thank you, Kara.
Hi, I am Joanne Kay. I am the administrator and the infection prevention nurse at Amie Holt Care Center. Amie Holt Care Center is a long-term care home in Buffalo, Wyoming that has 44 private rooms with individual bathrooms and showers. We have lots of spacious common areas and an amazing view from our large dining room that looks out over the golf course and the Bighorn Mountains. We were so excited to join the Wyoming Culture Change Project. We had watched video testimonials from other facilities and we were inspired. We wanted to bring those positive changes to our home. Our excitement was fused with quite a bit of worry over how to even begin such a huge project. It felt overwhelming to us. But luckily, Carmen was there offering us guidance and encouragement along the way. Thank goodness we did it. The positive impact on our... The first thing we did was we conducted a resident satisfaction survey. The residents answered yes, no, or sometimes to these statements. Staff treat me with respect. 80% of the residents agreed. Staff provide excellent care. 80% agreed. And I'm involved in decisions about my care. 80% agreed. And while those statistics appear favorable, once the project was underway for some time, and we realized that none of us even knew what we were missing or how good it could be, when you looked at the post-project percentages of 100% for staff treat me with respect, 96% agreed that staff provide excellent care, and 80% agreed with I'm involved in decisions about my care. Those scores are really based on completely different level of living expectations, and we couldn't be any prouder. When we completed the initial questionnaire, we found that we had already fully implemented 32% of the artifacts. 30% were partially implemented and 38% were not implemented at all. So when the project began, we were required to select 3 artifacts to participate in. We selected 5, but then once the project started, everyone was so excited and we started seeing big changes in the lives of the people that we care for, and we ended up implementing 11 artifacts. As our culture change project came to an end, we had partially implemented 16% of the artifacts, and we had fully implemented 64%. And even though our project is over, we're not finished. This is amazing. We have the culture change bug.
So as we go through our slides, we're just going to kind of talk about each one. We put them in order from top to bottom following the artifacts.
So one of the first ones that we did was to offer a different style of dining. So they're not just being fed off the hot steam table. They can come in whenever they in progress. In the morning, they can have whatever they'd like for breakfast. I had one gentleman who wanted a red beer for breakfast, so that's what he gets.
My name is Savannah Jackson, and I am the dietitian at Amie Holt Care Center, and I am going to talk a little bit about our made-to-order breakfast service. So our meal quality and services overall were really struggling. And we needed to make a change, and we felt that a long-term goal could be fully made-to-order meals. However, we needed a starting point, and so we chose one meal, and we chose breakfast because we felt like that was going to be the easiest to prepare, most doable in terms of staffing and timing, just to kind of get the ball rolling and work out some kinks. So we met with our staff, our dietary staff, and kind of created a menu and what they would like to prepare. Met with residents, asked them what they would like to see on the menu, and also work collaboratively with our nursing staff to figure out timing, what this was going to look like, how we were all going to work together to kind of make this work. Because it was a big shift from our, show up to the dining room at 6 o'clock, eat your breakfast, go back to your room. So we worked together, and I think we came up with a really great plan. Honestly, it turned out so well. We've been doing this for a little over a year now, and it's been great. It's a majority of our residents' favorite meal. They like that they have so many options, that the food is made fresh and hot and right there for them. They're allowed to order as much or as little as they would like. They can order from their room. They can eat in the dining room. There's a lot of flexibility and freedom in this meal service, and it's really empowered a lot of the residents, I feel, and I love seeing it. I think it's so great for them, and I'm hopeful that here in the future we can continue to grow that and build on that and create a made-to-order lunch and supper service.
The next one we did is we did put snack stations down each of our halls. We have multiple common areas. They each have their own refrigerator stocked with snacks, a fruit bowl. There's a basket full of all sorts of snacks there. We've invited all of our family members. When someone moves in, we let them know about it. And hey, come on over, bring your grandkids and have a snack. They're there for the taking. This is one of our residents and her husband enjoying some ice cream. This particular resident was really struggling with some weight loss issues when we kind of implemented this, and her weight now is amazing. She is so much happier and stable, and so is her husband. Then, along with the snacks and the made-to-order breakfast, we implemented just liberalized diets. CMS does state that liberalized diets should be the norm, with restrictions being an exception. All of our residents, 100% of them, are on a regular diet, including our diabetics and our cardiac patients. They're all on regular portions. We cook our meals fresh to order. Those are actually pictures of our breakfast that I took yesterday morning. You can see that Cheryl really likes to drink her Diet Coke, and she can have that for breakfast. I remember when we started this, I'd gone to medical staff and said, hey, we're gonna just put everybody on regular diets, and I had Savannah as a backup on that. And one of our physicians, who didn't have any residents in our care center at the time, just kind of blew a gasket. And he was like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You're going to kill these people. They're diabetic. He has since started to admit some people to our facility and has come around and has decided he would like beer for breakfast too. So he can have beer when he moves in. and our diabetics can have whatever they would like. We usually just serve a smaller portion, and we do monitor their sugar and things like that. But this is their home, and this is what they deserve.
The next one we did is we're celebrating the residents' individual birthdays instead of just having a big shindig for each person. Before this, each time their birthday would come around, we'd have a little chocolate bundt cake and we'd throw a candle in the middle of it, go to the dining room, gather around and sing happy birthday. Since we started this project, we asked each of our residents and as we bring them into the homes, their new home, we asked them how they prefer to celebrate their birthdays. We had this resident here say that all she wants is for her birthday was a visit from a horse. So we had one of our staff members bring her horse in that day for her birthday. She got to enjoy it, and other residents got to enjoy it too. We just had a new resident move in, and as we were asking her what and how she liked to celebrate her birthday, she said she wanted hot dogs for her birthday. It was her favorite, and her mom always cooked them, and even for her birthday after she was an adult, she would cook them for herself too for her birthday.
One of our projects that I was most proud of was Natural Awakening, and working in this industry for over 40 years, I can tell you what we've been doing has been anything but natural. I'd like to address both the bed checks during the night and waking up in the morning. This project also involved our medication pass and our breakfast service. Years ago, we had a resident in the nursing home named Stony, and Stony would always say, "This isn't a rest home because you sure don't get any rest." Stony was right. So why do every couple of hours we feel like we need to disrupt people's sleep, and we have to make sure they're clean, dry, and repositioned? And I think our reasons are very noble, because we feel like if they're incontinent of urine, they're uncomfortable, they're wet, they're cold, and they're going to get pressure sores for sure if we don't turn them every 2 hours. And what I have always said is that is neglect. We do respect residents' wishes if they can verbalize. A resident named Phyllis, I visited with her about checking on her during the night, and I said, we'll just peek in on you. And she said, "Honey, if I die during the night, I'm still going to be dead in the morning. Don't you come in this room." And I thought that would be the most terrifying thing, to wake up during the night and have somebody's face over you trying to see if you're breathing. So I kind of agree with Phyllis. And we have some residents that say, "I'd like to sleep until 10, and then I'd like coffee and toast." We have no problem doing that. What we were not doing was honoring the residents that could not verbalize. During the night, if somebody's incontinent and couldn't reposition themselves, we were taking care of them. Also, our facility's morning routine led to, if you couldn't tell us otherwise and you needed help eating, we were going to get you up by 7 o'clock, because 7 o'clock's when the night shift can help you eat breakfast. So it was very much done according to the residents' needs instead of the residents' wishes. And I do apologize for using the term residents. I realize that is a popular term, but our residents were asked, "What would you like us to call you? Friends, neighbors?" And they did say, "Can't you just call us residents?" So today that's what they are. Residents do tell us with their body language that they are not happy. They can be sleeping soundly, and they can let you know when you pull the covers down, they're cold. They want to pull them back up. Their facial expressions change. And when we realized with Culture Change that we don't have to do that, it was kind of hard to believe, because we felt like the outcome was not going to be good. We had the opportunity to speak with some of our state surveyors, and they were on board with Culture Change, but they did remind us that we are responsible for the outcomes. Our assumption was that with urinary incontinence, residents were miserable. Ask us how we know.
My name's Haley. I'm a nurse here at the care center, and I am about to admit to you and whoever watches this video in the future that I tried out our incontinence products and they actually work. But it wasn't just me. It was myself and a few other employees, but we actually encouraged anybody who wanted to do it to do it with us so we could all kind of see what it was like before we just kind of initiated this whole culture change idea, because it sounded wrong to let people just sleep in their incontinence. Like, us as caretakers felt like we needed to intervene. It was our job to care for these residents, and that we needed to check and change them every 2 hours and reposition them so they didn't get UTIs or pressure sores. And so it was really hard to think differently, think outside of what we've always been told. And so I think it was just really important that we tried them. And I know it sounds crazy, and it was. But we went in the supply closet and we fitted each other for briefs, and we took them home and we put on our pajamas that night, and we all became incontinent. And it was just kind of surprising to see how well the products really do work. One of our nurses, she woke up in the morning, had a cup of coffee in her recliner, just unbothered by her incontinence. Another nurse joked that in the future she's going to take the briefs with her when she goes camping so she doesn't have to walk to the outhouse in the middle of the night. Or she's going to take them next time she goes on a long road trip so she doesn't have to pull over 1,000,000 times. And like, I know in the past, me personally, like in my CNA class, we opened up a brief and we poured water on it, and we kind of felt it with our hands, and we could feel how cold and how long it took for the water to absorb into it. And we were always told, like, you wouldn't want that on your skin, that would be uncomfortable, so make sure that you're taking your residents to the restroom and you're helping them with their incontinence needs. So to feel kind of like firsthand that it really doesn't just sit there on the skin, you don't feel that warmth, it doesn't turn cold on your skin, you're not feeling these lumpy, clumpy briefs, they don't feel heavy, was actually really interesting. And I think just in general, like, these products advertise that they work well at night, but we never really like trusted the science behind it, and we kind of just always stuck with what we thought we knew. So I think it was kind of interesting to really get to try them out. We did have a couple companies send us different sample products to try, and I think we also underestimated like how well our pressure reducing mattresses work. So between those mattresses and the overnight briefs, like, it really was okay that the residents slept through the night, and if they were incontinent they didn't care, then it was okay. Kara and myself, we kind of went around and we interviewed the residents and asked them about their incontinence and if they wanted woken up in the night, and honestly they didn't really know it was an option to not be woken up in the night, which was interesting. A lot of them were just kind of completely unbothered by their incontinence and would rather just sleep if they could. And so it kind of turned into where we were more bothered by their incontinence than they were, which was interesting, but it also kind of felt like it was our job to be bothered by it so we could intervene. And we do intervene if, like, we know there's an obvious BM and whatnot, or if they're restless and like those kinds of things, but for the most part we do just let them sleep. If a problem arises, then we kind of just adjust the care plan as needed and kind of just make it more individual that way. We have had a couple residents who didn't want changed in the night and then later changed their mind, and they did want us to wake them up at 2 or 4 or whatever their preference was. And so to just take the time to actually ask was kind of a new thing for us too. We kind of started asking during care conference, and then when we do the quarterlies too, just kind of in a more private setting, because at the care conferences, like, families there, and it's kind of an embarrassing subject, so I try to ask them kind of when it's just me and them in a quieter environment so they can kind of open up and we can kind of change their care plan to what they want it to be. I think we all thought that we would see like a huge rise in pressure and UTIs, and we didn't. The numbers just weren't there. It was really surprising to just really see like how well these products work. It kind of made me laugh because some of us told our spouses that we were going to take these briefs home and try them, and then some of us were so secretive about it and we didn't want them to know at all. Like, we put them on after the spouses went to bed, and then the spouses that did know were just like appalled that we would do something so outlandish. So it was kind of interesting to see like how secretive and almost kind of embarrassing it could be to be incontinent. So like, as a nurse, it was kind of eye-opening to just kind of feel those feelings that some of the residents do feel about their incontinence too, which I think is important. But I think at the end of the day, like, this whole culture change thing has just taught us to just ask the residents what they want. So when they move in now, we take the time to just ask them, like, what were you doing at home? What would you like to do here? Like, you tell us what you'd like. And it's just really interesting. And I know all these things I just said, you're completely doubting me. So I highly encourage that after you're done watching this, you go to your supply closet, you grab a brief, and you take it home tonight and you try it too, because you won't think I'm crazy anymore.
We discussed with housekeeping that we may have more wet bedding, so they provided more for our needs. But we do have good mattresses and good overnight's incontinence brief, and that saved the day. Then it was time when we got accustomed to the idea. After several weeks, we engaged the nursing staff and the CNAs. And the response we got was, that's neglect. Of course, they're parroting what I have been preaching for 30 years. Some were angry. Some went in at 1 a.m. and changed people anyway, even though they were directed not to.
So the next one we did, it all kind of flows together, you know, the natural awakening, the made to order breakfast, and then medication times delivered according to their individual rhythms and routines. If they're sleeping through the night, there's no need to wake them up to give them a sleeping pill or wake them up for their Synthroid in the morning. In other places, it may be kind of a struggle with your physicians, but we really, really do just have some great physicians here who are like, yeah, it's fine if they sleep till 10 and then they take their Synthroid. It's not that big of a deal. Their numbers might be a little bit off, but it's not going to be huge. We just adjust. And it's actually gotten to the point now where I don't even ask their physicians anymore when I can move times around on medications. I just send an email to my pharmacist, Elizabeth, and she just changes it in our computer system. You know, at home, you take your meds when you want to, when you're awake. If you sleep in, you don't set your alarm at 6 just to make sure you get that Synthroid. So why not just do that here too? I mean, it's real life. The next one we did, and Kara was very implemental in doing this, was just being well known. We want to make sure that the old man you see sitting in the recliner that's confused and doesn't know what day it is or whatever is not what you see. When you look at this gentleman, you see that he's the one that helped us get on Mars. He's the one that worked for the space program. He's the one, you know, that was the first teacher or something. It was interesting and very enlightening to read these stories.
Yeah, that's actually one of the funnest parts of my job. When a person comes into our home, I sit down with them and talk to them about their past and places that they've been and things that they've done. I take the things that they've done that are interesting and try to integrate them into a first-person story. Some of the people have told me things like they rode horseback to school. Those are the things that I can't imagine other than seeing on Little House on the Prairie. The story that I write is in first person, and then on the bottom it includes things like their ADLs and those things that we have to include for our care planning. But the stories are put into their areas where other staff can see them. Even housekeeping can look and learn and know about this person. It's a nice way to help people come into our community. The residents that have came have a lot of times felt like they are integrated easier into our home and feel like they really belong. This next slide is actually one of our eye care plans that the lady had just moved in. She's our newest resident. She went to school after a 10-week went to teaching after a 10-week training. And this here picture is actually a picture of the first Casey school building. She kind of has a fun little story, and it's worth reading, but she kind of prides herself in making sure those kids towed the line, and in fact even took a coal shovel to their bottoms 3 times when they didn't obey or didn't behave well. They're just kind of a fun time to spend with the residents, and it makes them feel welcome and appreciated, and their lives are integrated into this little part, and it's usually right at the first of their arrival, so they feel like they're home.
So we also did our music preferences, and we bought some Alexas and put them in our main dining room, into our exercise room, into our tub room, where the residents would be able to pick in the common areas. And we also asked them what kind of music or how they would like to listen to music in their rooms, if that's where they wanted to listen to music. And so we ask their preferences when they exercise. We ask the first person that comes in what they want to listen to, and when they leave, we can change it to what the next person really enjoys. They get to enjoy relaxing music or crazy music while they sit in their bathtub and relax. And during the meals, we ask different residents what they like to hear, who their favorite artist was. The newspaper article is one of our residents that was very young. She was in her early 50s when she was here with us. She didn't mind listening to our old music, but she really wanted an opportunity to listen to the music she liked while she dined in the dining room also. And so we made Tanya Tuesdays. She would listen to a lot of the 60s rock and roll, AC/DC, and a few other artists like that. But two, we had another resident who was older. Her and her husband had been to every AC/DC concert, and Tanya knew that. And so on some Tuesdays, she would pick AC/DC just to make sure that that other resident had the opportunity to listen to the younger music that she knew she enjoyed. We did some home environment and accommodations. We took away all of our bibs. We used, not all of our bibs, we asked them, and we were able to take away most of them. There's only a very few that asked or said that they would like to continue to protect their clothes. But most of our residents use this same blue napkin. It doesn't absorb like the bibs do, and so that's why some of them has chose to go back to the bib. But we only use them when they ask us for them. We don't just give them to everybody anymore, which was what our practice was. We also did quite a few things in the family and community. Our first one was that the children regularly engage with our residents. At the beginning of the program, we said that we thought this was important for our residents, especially after COVID. And so I reached out to the 2 schools that we have with elementary students and some of the daycares, and we were able to bring one of the daycares in with some 5-year-old kids once a month. And we were also able to bring some kids from our Christian academy, and they come every other week. They come together, they bring an activity to do with their buddy. We have some sort of a snack with their buddy, and their teachers have started to implement a question we have on our board on Thursdays is Thoughtful Thursday, and these kids are writing books about their buddies that they're going to share with their buddies at the end of the school year. We've also reached out to make sure that our residents are able to have the animals that they enjoy from their ranch life here in little rural Buffalo, Wyoming. We've had alpacas. We have mini horses that come in dressed up for each of the holidays that have been trained to use our elevators, so nobody is left out of that horse visit. We have different people that have brought in their chickens. We had our horse for our birthday. We've had rabbits. We also start chickens in our house from eggs. The residents name their eggs. We incubate them, we hatch them. We keep a couple of them through the summer that the residents get to help us care for and tend to. We've also implemented the rehab kitchen in our facility. We have a large area near our dining room that the residents can go in and cook with. We've invited their family members and their friends to come do it. This resident here is probably one of them that uses it the most. She loves to cook for everybody. She makes homemade coconut candies every year for Christmas for all of the staff, all of her family. She always tells us every year that she knows her grandson will be the one to eat them all because it's his favorite. When staff birthdays come around, she really tries to do for us because she's appreciative of what we do for her. And so she's often in the kitchen cooking a cake of some sort for the facility.
The next one we did was leadership and team engagement. And this one wasn't hard to do at all because we are just such a great team here. These pictures up here, there's our CEO helping with our Chinese New Year celebration with one of our cooks. There's our director of operations serving food one night because we were short in our dietary department, so she popped on in. There's Joanne, our administrator, cooking made to order breakfast. It's amazing. And then there's Haley with one of our residents just jumping in and helping out where needed. But the main thing that we did with that is making sure that we orientated all of our new employees to what our culture change is.
When we interview CNAs and we explain our progressive, don't awaken the residents during the night policy, CNAs that have worked other facilities think it's pretty cool. If they've never worked as a CNA, the response is, duh, why would you do that anyway?
With all these things, I was actually kind of nervous to calculate our staff turnover again, because it always just feels like our staff is always turning over and turning over and turning over. But if you look, you can see that we have cut our CNA turnover almost in half, as well as our overall turnover. It has been an amazing trip. And this is one of our activities girls, Sheila. She was very difficult to convince that the culture change was a good thing, but we finally got her.
Impressions of the restorative sleep program.
My first impressions were not very well, and I stomped my feet and went to different head departments telling them how crazy it was that you're going to let people sleep until they wake up, and you're going to have pressure sores, you're going to have more ret issues, you're going to have bad behaviors, and they're going to have more pain because they stay in bed all the time.
And what have you noticed since we've been doing this restorative sleep over the last couple of years?
Well, Carrie had to talk her head off, saying that Florence Nightingale only come up with 2-hour change things as something out of the blue air, because I've been in healthcare as a CNA for 36 years, and that's the way it was always done. You change them every 2 hours, change their positions, check and change, get them up to the bathroom, even in the middle of the night. And as this went on, it at first was not good. People were skipping meals. People were complaining about, mostly staff, complaining about the residents being soaked. And but as it went on, it got better. The residents, the neighbors were able to sleep as they wanted to. A lot of them said that being wet's not an issue. We found different incontinence products that would hold contained, and this little thing would tell us if they were awake, or we picked a handful of people, and if they had one of these, we knew that they were in the sleep study. So the stars meant that they were sleeping, and you turn it over when they're awake, and that's when they can be approached with their medicines or to check on them. We did check on them during the night so they didn't fall out of bed and we didn't see them, but we were quiet when it was on stars and didn't do it all the time, no unnecessary. We put their towels outside the room if they were still the sleepy part, but if their eyes were open, then we were able to put the towels inside, and the towels didn't make a big difference. The residents were able, through this study, we were able to find out if they were early wakers or sleep in. And we still have some of them that miss breakfast today because that's what they've always done their whole life. If you've ever worked night shift, your days and nights are all flip-flopped, and there's a lot of people we don't know, and they work night shift, and so their nighttime and daytime is mixed up. And there's actually less behaviors. We did not have any bed sores that I feared would be terrible. They actually had pretty good skin. And we didn't have people getting out of bed as much as we thought because they were resting better.
And this is just kind of our last slide here. Just some unexpected or benefits. Our staff are happier, our residents are happier. They have good relationships with each other. Our staff really know our residents, and that is very important to us. Like Sheila said, we're seeing, less behaviors or expressions of distress. We talked about, we're always fighting them to get up out of bed, and how they didn't want to. They'd pull the covers back over themselves. We've learned and we've adapted, and you wrap them in a warm blanket and you offer them a cup of coffee because that's what you would like in the morning, and they're just happier and they don't beat you up anymore.
How about a round of applause, everyone, for the Amie Holt team and all that they've done?